Betrayal trauma, choosing to stay, and dealing with a partner that has extreme highs and really low lows. Hi, my name is Eileen. I am not a licensed therapist or psychiatrist. I am just here to personally share my story of betrayal trauma with someone who had multiple affairs and corn addiction, and how I chose to stay and what I've learned from my experience. I have to be careful what I say because I'm not a licensed psychiatrist, so I definitely recommend talking to somebody if I talk about these signs and you're like, that kind of rings a bell. When you're going through betrayal trauma, a lot of times you might be working with someone who has extreme impulses, really high highs where they're like, I love you, I want to be with you, really putting effort into the relationship, and then suddenly there's this flip where they have extreme depression, like, I don't think I can do this anymore, I am not good for you, you don't deserve me, I'm not a good person, I'm not worthy, I deserve to unalive myself, etc., etc. This can feel like you're married to someone and you're on a yo-yo, and it's so confusing because you're like, where is this coming from? I'm putting all this work and effort into you, and suddenly you're backing out, and they might even do something like completely run away and then want to come back. I had to get my reading glasses out so I could read this graphic to you. So bipolar disorder symptoms, I just pulled this off the internet. It might be feeling overly happy for long periods of time, talking very fast with racing thoughts, becoming easily distracted, having overconfidence in abilities. Like, sometimes it sounds crazy, sometimes it's actually kind of minor and might fly under the radar with you. Engaging in risky behaviors. This could be a lot of different addictions, but corn addiction and SA affairs do fall under that category. Then they have these like really low lows, which could be feeling sad or hopeless for long periods of time, significant change in appetite, thinking or attempting unaliving, feeling fatigue or lack of energy, problems with memory and concentration. And another sign of having low lows is actually running away. A lot of times too with these lows, they will self-depreciate themselves, so they'll put themselves down like, I'm not worthy, I'm a bad person, I don't deserve any of this. So they have a lot of negative thoughts, and that's their brain essentially just having this extreme low. So what do you do if your partner has bipolar disorder? Bipolar disorder actually runs in my family. I've been diagnosed by a psychiatrist, and I am bipolar 2, which is actually the lower end of the spectrum. And it's been life-changing to have been diagnosed. Now, I didn't have a lot of the impulses. My husband was diagnosed with ADHD, which also is a lot of lack of impulse control. And with these conditions, I think that we just want to write them off like, oh, that's an excuse. But a lot of these things are mental problems. It's part of your brain not working. And if you read these books, I've read several books on bipolar disorder. I can give recommendations if you all would like some. But with this, they equivalent it, these doctors and psychiatrists, they equivalent it to something like diabetes. Like, if you have diabetes, you have to take insulin. Well, if you have bipolar disorder, you have to be on medication. And I think for men, that can feel like a weakness, like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get evaluated because it's a weakness. So I would insist on, if you think that your partner has these signs and symptoms, that one of your boundaries is they get evaluated. It's really hard because a lot of these people kind of have to come to the end of their rope, the end of the line, and sometimes they have to have someone speak into their lives and say, like, look at where your life is going. If you stay on this road, is this the path that you want? Because at the end of it, these are a lot of self-destructive behaviors, and if you don't get the help that you need, this is only going to continue. So you need to be on a medication that helps you focus, that helps you with your impulse controls, that helps you not spiral with these downward depressive issues, that helps you put your focus and effort and have a more balanced emotional state. And a lot of the problems with someone bipolar is that they can't do that. They mentally cannot do that, no matter how much self-control or physical exercise or diet they try. Like, don't get me wrong, those things help, but they're never going to cure the problem. There is no cure. The only thing that's going to help them is being on a medication. The other thing too with impulse control, because if you're going through betrayal trauma, you're getting hurt emotionally. You are constantly getting hurt and being put into this cycle of PTSD. especially if there's that lack of impulse and they're constantly going back and doing these destructive, toxic behaviors that are destroying their family. So one of the things to understand is that if somebody has ADHD or bipolar disorder or one of these other mental disorders that lack impulse control, they actually sometimes don't really have the ability to think of consequences to their actions. That surprised me because I absolutely have that ability. I know that like if I were to go out and have an affair, that it's going to affect my marriage, it's going to affect my children and how my children are going to spiral and how that's going to, eventually come to light no matter how I try to hide it, and how that's going to hurt my extended family. Like I have the ability to see that if I'm going to make this decision A, consequence B is going to happen. This is the cause and the effect. But somebody who has a lack of impulse control sometimes does not have that ability. So let me know if you found this helpful. Unfortunately, I don't think I can answer a whole lot of these questions because I'm not a licensed psychiatrist. I can give referrals for people. You can absolutely follow some people on TikTok that are licensed psychiatrists and talk about this in great detail. I'm just simply raising awareness about this because I think a lot of women take it so personally, and it was such a light bulb moment for me to understand mental illness, to understand impulse control, to understand that a lot of these things can be chemistry in the brain and unfortunately need medication in order to resolve some of these things.